Welcome to Nonprofit Network, powered by Stokes Auction Group. We are a podcast focused on benefit auctions and fundraising events for the nonprofit community. We are a group of fundraising professionals that specialize in raising funds to improve communities of all sizes. And here it is, episode 8. Now, if it's your first time joining us, this is the Nonprofit Network, where we focus on benefit auctions and fundraising events for the nonprofit community. And on today's cast, this is episode 8, by the way, I'm Shelby Stokes, and we also have Kelly Schinfeld.
Kelly Schinfeld, hello, welcome back.
And Mr. Paul Schinfeld.
Hello, everybody. Thanks again for joining us this week. We appreciate you.
That's right. We've done 8 of these episodes. Pretty cool.
8.
Paul, is that your knee is touching my leg under the table? That's kind of exciting.
Is that what that is?
Yeah, that's right. That's why the numbers are above our heads.
Leave it there. It's fine.
That's right. Yeah, exactly. So we have numbers above our heads because we're going to be covering some fundraising strategy later.
We are. Way to launch right into the serious part of the deal.
I'm
Shelby.
telling you
Good
what.
for you.
Well, let's listen up. March Madness is going on. Have your teams been winning?
Yeah, my husband follows it I'm just now going to start following it because it's a 16. I don't have time for the whole 64 thing.
Dude, the 64 is the
a
best.
lot of basketball.
Because that's where the upsets are, though. You know what I mean?
And my husband has had a blast, and I support all of those things. However, I will say I have a date with him tonight to go watch the Zags.
Oh, that's romantic.
It's very romantic.
Where are you guys going? Is that like
the
Canlis?
Muckleshoot. We're going to go to the Muckleshoot on a date.
Dude, you guys
The game starts at like 4:10.
Yeah.
We got to get you out of here.
Yeah, so, I mean, I've already got the perfume and
Now-
all the appropriate ingredients. I'm fine.
So are you gonna be like are you gonna be putting any money on the games? Like you gonna be betting?
I don't know if it's going to
Oh,
I'm
I don't
gonna have to see
know.
what his wallet looks like.
I don't know.
See
Okay.
how fat that thing is. And
That's
go,
right.
Yeah, can I get one of those?
Go Zags, right? They play
Go
this
Zags,
afternoon.
absolutely.
For sure.
It's going to be
for
super
sure.
fun. Yeah.
We don't have any green beer today, but
No.
we are still singing the Rattling blog.
That was a really cool song.
That was.
That's a great Irish accent.
It was a really cool song. We loved it. Sang it a lot last week.
Oh, Cockney.
I looked it up. Rattling in that text means
Yeah.
splendid.
Oh,
So they're talking about a splendid blog.
a splendid blog.
I had to look it up.
Okay, if you have no idea what we're talking about, we should leave a link to the video in the description of this video.
There we go.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah.
So you can check out the Rattling blog.
Yeah.
Because, it's real fun.
cool song, yeah.
But yeah, we appreciate you joining us. Last week we covered themes. We kind of mentioned them. We were dressed up very, very silly. One of us was in a Spanish outfit, Mexican, Viva la Mexico outfit. And we had some themes. Did you guys have any themes this weekend at your shows?
Yeah, you notice how Shelby just only talked about his outfit.
I kind of forgot what you guys were wearing. You were wearing
Cowboy Masquerade.
Yeah.
Thank you, Cowboy Masquerade.
which
and
is not Knight Rider. What is it? What's the show? The Hi Ho Silver Away.
that is Hi Ho Silver.
Right.
That is
What is it?
Tonto.
Yes.
And stop.
Oh, Paul definitely knows.
You
Paul's
know.
playing like
I
he
was
doesn't
too
know.
young.
I was too young. Masquerade Cowboy is
We keep talking.
Tonto?
It's gonna come to me.
the
The
green.
Lone Ranger.
Oh wow. Okay, the Lone
Sorry,
Ranger.
it came out so fast, but that's how those work.
I was
And
gonna. I was gonna say Green Hornet. I knew I was off.
Green
Yeah.
Hornet. No, that's a different.
I was
channel.
watching Speed Racer, so that was kind of my
Go
thing.
Speed Racer, go! And
Oh,
Chim Chim,
wow.
the monkey.
Yep.
Wow.
Oh, yeah.
You're pulling it back. Chim Chim. Good old Chim Chim.
You're digging it deeper.
We had some shows this last week.
We did.
We did. I was at an event for a Christian community. We raised some money. The dessert dash was on point. Can we talk about it?
No, seriously. ours
My
was
dessert
so-
dash was the best. We had legendary donuts on our table. People got real excited.
How much did it raise?
About 30 grand.
Yeah, I couldn't believe
Yeah,
it.
we
30
did
grand?
28,000
Saw
something.
Oh,
Yeah.
Crazy.
It was nutty. Like, people were all about it. And one thing that I forgot to mention in a previous episode about Dessert Dash is we actually had people line up against the back of the ballroom and then run from the back to the front because otherwise it's unfair based on where you're sitting.
Oh,
Hey, that's a twist.
You know what I
that
mean?
is a
I don't
So it's
twist.
like a
I haven't
starting
seen it all the
line.
time.
Everybody gets a trophy in America.
That's right.
So we want it to be fair.
And it was.
And it was.
I did see a guy vault over a chair in order to get to the dessert. It was pretty sweet.
Wish I would have been there to get that on video.
Yeah, time actually slowed down. Like,
Yeah.
scientifically it happened.
Yeah.
Yeah. for sure.
Ours raised $18,000, so that's how big of a deal these dessert dashes can be.
That's big money.
That's big money. That's big money, especially for a school. And the desserts were beautiful. And I know that was last week's episode, but man, it is a money grab.
Well, we did a dessert frenzy.
Oh.
We had 13 desserts that we sold live. Frenzy means you just sell them a little bit faster. Mm-hmm. And we averaged, I think about $400, $450. Well, we made about $5,500.
I was going to say that's $5,000-6,000. That's
on total donated desserts that were really cool.
Yeah. And
they were theme related.
You had Willie on your team. He was going to get up and sell a few, but didn't end up happening.
No, Willie did not.
Willie.
Yes, but hopefully he will this weekend. I told him, you think hard about it, bro.
you give some thought. I will say that if you are doing an event out there, make sure that you have some Wi-Fi, because we did not have any of our cards work at the bars because the Wi-Fi went out in the hotel.
Oh, no.
Right? And who's carrying cash for cocktails right now? Like, nobody, right? Everything's contactless payment for the most part. So, yeah, no credit card machines. A little bit of frustration when you hit the ballroom. Yeah, a little bit interesting.
It would be super frustrating if you donated it like a Fund a Need or a Raise the Paddle.
I see what you did there.
I see what you did there. Segued into that.
Yeah, but before you that, Paul had a good event this weekend, but there was an element that we could possibly approve on?
Yeah, and it was the paddle raise. It was the Fund a Need. There was a lot of attention to detail on every aspect of this event. The silent auction, all the documentation was there. We had all of our volunteers in place. Everybody knew exactly what they were supposed to do. The audience was there to give and donate and party and have fun. But in my view, the most important item is the Fund a Need, and we just dropped the ball. I mean, our presentation wasn't there. And it was unclear. Basically, when I took the microphone, I kind of tried to reiterate what it is we're raising money for, and it was for social studies curriculum.
That's kind of hard to talk about, yeah.
In all my years, it's the first time I've tried to pitch that and sell that, and it's been a long time since I've studied social studies. So, but
did you come out and like give a civics lesson?
Right,
is that what you did?
But you know what you could do with something like a social studies Fund a Need, or Raise the Paddle, or whatever you call it, special appeal, paddle raise. You know, if it's a Fund a Need, so it is you could that is a difficult one to do, but maybe encourage your people that are doing this auction. If it's a social studies one, say, hey, put together a video of past wars, past this. Just it could be something as simple as that, something impactful like that, pulling at people's heartstrings.
Play 10 minutes of Saving Private Ryan at the gala.
20 minutes of Saving Private Ryan, which by the way,
the opening scene.
Yeah, no, I mean, look, don't be insensitive to this. I'm trying to be helpful.
The war is very serious. No laughter.
War is a big part of our history. Unfortunately, we see it replay itself over and over and over again as what's going on in the media today.
Yeah.
But what I'm saying is that you could do something on a boring need, because some needs are boring.
And let's
you could do something like that.
Yeah. So our topic for today is Fund a Need.
You already know that,
That
Shelby.
is what we are talking about, but this will be a good way to break it. So, I mean, the Fund a Need is essentially what we're going to cover. We're going to cover the basics of a Fund a Need, what that looks like, and then we're going to talk about the presentation specifically within Fund a Need is kind of what we're going to cover today. Now, we talked about covering Fund a Need, and we're like, this thing could go a lot of different ways. You could talk about the timing it lands in the program. You could talk about how to strategize on your matching gifts or your pre-donations or any of that. So there's a lot of ways we can go with this topic. Today, the basics and presentation is what we're going to cover. So,
unless an idea comes to my mind,
I
sidetrack this entire podcast.
And I will hijack this podcast, just like Tonto would do back in the day on the Green Hornet show.
Silver.
So first things first, we call it Fund a Need. A lot of people call it a lot of different things. Could be a Fund a Wish, Fund a Future, Fund a whatever you want to make it. Raise the Paddle, Special Appeal, Paddle Raiser, Cash grab, Money Grab, Open Your Heart. Essentially, this is the time of the night where you just ask for straight donations, right?
It is, yep.
Yeah.
Straight cash donations at different levels, starting at higher levels and working your way down.
Yeah, and we've seen in the past like people actually go the other way in terms of starting low and going high, which is like a different feel for the event. More often than not, we're suggesting high to low, right? And I think one thing that I noticed at this last event that I did is that people really needed a reminder on what this was, which is why we're covering it today. But I even start the asking portion of the night with, hey, we're going to do a funny now. We're going to be asking for cash donations. We're going to go high and end low and give where you feel like you can. And I think it's just a good way to remind people. Like I've heard it said from other people that they don't like that reminder, but I don't think it can hurt.
No, and I think that you remind them from the beginning of the night. Tell them where
point.
in the timeline it's going to happen, and that we're going to ask for direct donations. And I think where the whole idea of fund a need came from is to fund a particular need. Mm-hmm. And so maybe reorganizing what you call that is a big part of how you present it, if that makes any sense. So maybe you don't need a super fancy presentation if it's a boring or not heartstring kind of a thing. And you are aware going in that you may not raise as much money on that raise the paddle if you don't have a heartstring puller, because the human needs something to give to, but it's got to pull at their heart a little
So you're
bit.
talking about the motivation of the donor,
Motivation
right?
of it,
Like
yeah.
why are they going to give?
And the whole mechanics of it, the whole reason that we do it is because there's a need. You got to go back a little bit and how this thing started, and so maybe not put the word fund a need in there and confuse your audience. I don't know. Put the raise the paddle, keep it that way, special appeal. But really incorporate I think you should incorporate in school auctions your previous students, things like that. There's one school that just does it.
Yeah,
Is
you were
this
telling us about
yeah.
that. Yeah,
Is
definitely.
this on topic?
No, yeah, no, I like it.
Good. Okay, good.
Yeah.
I wanted to make sure I was staying on.
Well, I mean, we're talking about the presentation. So in this school in particular.
Yeah, they have like 6 students around the room, and they just do an absolutely phenomenal
Now,
job.
of those students, are those students that have received scholarship in the
Yes.
past, or are
Yep.
they just random students that
No,
are inspiring?
There's students that have received scholarships, and they talk about what that scholarship meant to them. And so, I mean, you could even do something along the lines of, if it was a school auction, you could even, if they were raising choir robes, you could have choir students sing.
That's a
If
good
they
idea.
were doing, band, you could have people that were in the band. You could just do all kinds of things. Security systems. You could do something for security systems, though people are more apt to donate money to something like that. But you really got to decide what it is that your need is, and if you don't have a direct need, create one.
Yeah. So, I mean, the reason you bring up that one specifically is because of the scholarships that are necessary within the community to keep the community going, right? See, in your situation, Paul, with the one that you just did recently, you were funding social studies, and curriculum is not cheap. Like, I don't know how many of you out there that are listening know about the school system, but curriculums are never cheap, which is probably why they had to try to fund
Yep.
social studies.
Exactly.
Which is not like a very... not appealing isn't the right word, but it's not a very attractive thing to talk about, right?
It's not real sexy.
Well, it's hard to get people excited about
Right.
it.
It's
you
hard
know?
to gather emotion.
Yeah.
Emotion, I think, is a big motivator for people.
Mm-hmm.
Social studies is just not that emotional.
As
But
well as
if-
the people are already paying for their child to be taught social studies through their mindset.
Sure, then there's that too.
So
exactly.
you have to re-gear your goals for that. You got to remember that you're presenting something to a group of people that are already paying
Absolutely.
at a private school, right?
Yeah.
I think what would have really helped is, we're updating our social studies curriculum.
Mm-hmm.
Bring in the old books with the busted out binders and the torn out pages, and
Yeah, and have moths fly
That's
out
a
of
good-
them.
bring all that old stuff there, or take a video
Like,
of it.
hire a magician to
Yeah.
have a moth fly out of a book.
There's your centerpiece. There's your centerpiece is old books with
Oh my
moths,
gosh,
and
what
a
if you-
fan
Oh.
and moths just flying off.
Dude,
That'd
you
be
could have
great.
hired somebody to fold origami from the old social studies books.
Yeah, right.
Yeah.
I believe emotion is what's going to move people.
Agreed.
And if you're savvy enough to turn something as not very sexy as social studies curriculum into an emotional appeal, that would be the key in this particular case.
Right.
I mean, we could go with animal organizations where all you got to do is show pictures.
Yeah.
Show pictures and play a song
Yeah.
that you don't even have to say anything.
In the arms of the
I
wreckage.
hate that commercial.
Because your mind immediately goes to poor little animals.
Yeah,
right?
I
for
cannot
sure.
watch the ASPCA commercials. I won't
not
watch them.
Work.
But if I was in the audience and I had $5,000 that I was planning on giving and I wanted to buy a trip to Hawaii or I wanted to help the animals, that would inspire me to forego going to Hawaii and give that $5,000 to
And I
help
think,
the animals.
Yeah, I mean, your example of social studies is an interesting one, right? Because, I mean, it doesn't jump off the page, and it's not, I mean, could you almost do something in regard to, like, we are raising individuals who need to be active members in society, right? They need to do their civic duty and help vote when the time is right. In order for them to make intelligent decisions, we need
Good
to
point.
teach them the new updated curriculum.
And even
right?
though they're educated, they still have a hard time making intelligent decisions. Let's talk about that.
So you're
people.
saying they're human?
There's some,
is that
there's some things happening around us that unintelligent decisions are being made daily.
Yeah, and I think that the other downfall that
Daily.
you saw this week, Paul, is like the onus was on you to like inspire people to give, right? Not that you're the wrong person to do it, but there's probably a better person to do it, right? Like the
Clearly.
teacher that is connected with the program and wants the curriculum and here's why, or this curriculum is teaching things that are completely outdated from 30 years. There's a ton of scenarios. The person that is intimately working with that curriculum could have probably presented.
Most definitely.
Whereas you come in as someone that's a fundraiser and they're like, okay, take it away.
Here you
Like
go.
that's
Sell this.
Yeah, see, and if my social studies teacher would have come up there and given the speech, the entire audience would be asleep.
they would have been like, oh, we need two
So-
curriculums after hearing this guy
Right.
speak. Yeah.
So, but I see what
for
you're
sure.
saying. You're absolutely right, though.
Yeah. And I think that's worth the discussion here, right? If we are really getting into the meat of the presentation of Fund a Need, you got to keep in mind who that speaker is going to be, right? Is the individual that is speaking to the overall need or mission of the room the right person, right? And normally within a church scenario, you see the pastor or a leader within the church come up and speak to what that need is, right? So having that right person is really the best way to move forward, right?
And see, I'm a proponent into videos with music.
You like
I
you're
do.
a video
I like.
person?
I mean, or a very powerful speaker.
Yeah.
If it's a student and it's a powerful speaker, and they've got a great speech, it can really target your room. So let's move away from the social studies talk and talk about
Pick it.
health organizations.
Okay.
Okay. So health
Let's use-
organizations are easier almost to get something together because you can put a picture of a child on there that's not well, and
Right.
people will instantly give money to that.
Funding for uncompensated care. People that can't afford it.
go.
Right?
Yeah. I
Yeah.
mean, people will throw money at that.
Well, I mean, I think the end of the day, what you want in those scenarios specifically is you want empathy in the room, right? And I think you can communicate that through video. I'm a huge proponent of having both. Like your video is short and sweet, and then Auntie May is either going to speak, which is great, or Auntie May is just going to be up there as a
Right.
silent participant on
yeah,
stage.
I would say that's my favorite too.
Because I think the empathy really makes it palpable. It's the connective tissue that we all interact with.
It's that emotion. It's going to pull at that emotion.
Exactly.
And,
And it's
also keep in mind, before I forget this thought, pay a lot of attention to how long these presentations are. Think about people's
Well said.
span of attention. How long?
Short.
Now, if they're a good speaker, and even if they are good, don't let them go longer than 5 minutes, right? Video
Yeah.
as well, 3 to 5 minutes.
Yeah, and if they're a good speaker, make sure they're on topic. Like, what are you going to cover? And some of those people that are confident in their speaking ability won't want to share their notes. But if they go off topic during that key moment of the night where you're about to ask for straight donations, that can really go sideways. That can really go sideways. Yeah. So vet your speaker to the best of your ability. I think the last thing we want to cover before we start winding this down is the actual thing that you are funding, right? A lot of times what we'll see a general fund versus a specific. And I think we have a preference, but that preference isn't always reality, right?
Well, yeah, and I think that we've kind of already talked about that a little bit in that, if you are having a need, you need to really be able to verbalize that need.
Right.
Because otherwise it's not a need. Take the word need out of there, But to be honest with you, find a need, because needs are usually met, right? Desires are not necessarily met.
Yeah. And I think one thing worth considering is, is it a general fund or is it a specific item that you're trying to fund, right? We were talking earlier, and your example was a playground or something of that nature. Mm-hmm. The playground may not move individuals to give right away.
But if the child is hanging upside down with a board that's got a hold of his pants or whatever, and he's dangling off of this thing, right?
Hung up on a splinter.
Yeah, and he gets a splinter like that.
That's right.
Boom, there's your fun and need video.
For sure.
And then you follow it.
We got
with
cameras. We
the
can come
child
out. We will film it. Yeah.
The child is fine, but we don't want splinters or panty wear showing on the playground anymore.
No.
So
that's there you go.
That's the
there
example.
you go. But
Can I throw a question out there?
Yeah, go for it.
Should we do this first before the live auction or last?
The fun and need?
Yeah.
Middle.
You like middle? I like middle or end, personally. The beginning, I've seen it work from time to time, but it seems that you're leaving money on the table, I feel
I agree.
Yeah.
You
I
need
really
time
do.
for the audience to acclimate themselves to the MC and the auctioneer. Get to
And my
know
husband would hate this idea, but I think that we should that's when we do our heads or tails, 2 items before, because I am not a believer that the sugar is what, and that's for a whole nother episode, and I know that, but I want to get my 2 cents in there. Sugar does not do what people think it does.
It gives you energy. It's literally raw energy. That's what sugar is.
I'm not doing that.
All of our scientists, please get in touch. We need a lesson.
Don't do it.
So you're recommending don't start off a live auction that consists of 15 items.
Correct.
Don't start with the fun and need.
Yeah.
Absolutely.
We
not.
put that either after 15 items, but I would say you put it like at 10. Item 10.
Yeah.
And then finish strong with leave some good candy items in the back end, so you can finish strong and people feel like, you're ending on a high note, right? You're not ending.
And I think that conversation really has to do with how many items you have, which is kind of like a cop-out to actually answering that question. Like, it's dodging the question. But I feel like the more items you have, the more necessary having the fund 60% of the way through that event becomes.
Absolutely. I agree.
You have 4 items, cool. Like, knock out the live real quick and then go to the fund. The thing that I've heard when people do put the fund in the beginning, and know that there's a percentage of people out there that really prefer the fund in the beginning, because they say it sets the tone for the night, right? Like, you're gonna have somebody come out and give $100,000. Now all the items after that are going to do well because the bar has been set. The downside I see in that scenario is, like, say, for example, I wanted to buy the last package of the night, so I'm holding back on that last donation because I know I'm going to buy this item. I'm going to spend about X amount of dollars. And then if you miss that item at the end of the night and then no one asks you for money, there's a better chance that money's going home with me rather than staying with the organization.
Good point. Absolutely.
Yeah, definitely. So we all have some horror stories in regard to the fund and need process. I didn't know how to describe it. I said most difficult fund and need. That feels mean. But, we've all had struggles within the fund and need realm. So do you guys have any good stories that come to mind?
Kelly?
You go first, Paul.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
Okay. Well, I'm kind of hung up on last weekend because here's what happened. We as the hosts are trying to pay attention to the presentation, right? So we can then go piggyback on that presentation, follow up what Sarah said, and use some bullet points that she talked about, or he or she. At this point, I got a volunteer coming over asking me, hey, where's bidder 134? I missed the presentation, and I missed the video.
Oh, no way.
So I come up on stage, and I'm, okay, let's talk a little social studies. And, you talk about pucker. Right? So, and there are many others. I'm not trying to, but that is the one that's fresh in my mind.
Social studies. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, we are funding the study of the social at this time. Please give all you can.
But I had at least part of one ear listening, and I knew that the presentation was not very good. And I just knew it wasn't there.
Oh, no.
It just was not
Yeah.
there. So I just was honest with people. Just try to, hey, you guys, education of your children is more important now than ever. If you didn't have a chance to buy a live item or a silent item, or you missed out or you got outbid, here's your chance to help us.
Don't
that's
want to be raising
hilarious.
a bunch of dummies, ladies
So-
and gentlemen. So
Right.
that's just
No.
Other than tripping and falling right as I ask for a dollar level, that's which.
So, speaking of tripping and falling, I had a fund where we were replacing carpet in one of the rooms in this little school, right? So, I was taking myself way too seriously. And it was just like, okay, ladies and gentlemen, you could have a new carpet. I mean, think about
Shelby,
it.
you
What
took
could
yourself
happen?
seriously. Come
What could
on.
happen? You could have like a ripped up carpet so a kid could trip and fall and hurt themselves. And there's a dad in the front row that just goes, like laughs out. Laughs out loud and just like breaks the entire moment. Turns out we did not get donations at the first two levels on that one, but I don't know.
Oh, the first two levels.
Oh, yeah,
Oh,
yeah.
no.
Yeah, you don't want to miss the first two.
We were in Colorado and we begged these people because there was a snowstorm and it was years ago, and we begged them to just cancel the auction, but they didn't. They chose to go forward with it. And there was a room of about 12 people in a bar setting. And we still had like 10 items. And
Oh.
they still wanted to do a funding.
Oh,
And they
no
wanted
way.
my husband to stay on script. And so we're in this room, and there he goes, man. He's selling it. And we said, so basically, ladies and gentlemen, we need to sell an item to each of you. So this is what's going to happen. And then the fund in need, she had scripted it to where there were some people that were going to be there before the big snowstorm that were giving $5,000 and $25,000 and $1,000. She wanted us to stay with that, so Mark's in front of these 12 people going, well, we're going to start at the $5,000 level. Bueller.
Another JD and Coke, please.
I'll take a shot. And then the same thing happened at the $2,500 level and the $1,000 level.
no.
At that point, we're just laughing. We're like, listen, Bill, we know each other well now. Just tell me what you want to give. We understand that this fund of need is dead in the water.
Oh,
So.
that is hilarious.
Yeah.
So I'm going to steal another auctioneer's story that I heard once. It's from Dougie down in Portland. And Dougie was coming off of a show doing he was raising money for a school of some kind, curricular-based thing, and he had just come off doing a medical event where they were raising money for a cure, right?
Right.
So he's in the crowd at the school. That's right, we're funding a cure, ladies and gentlemen. We're going to find us a cure.
Oh, no.
And one of the guests goes, what are you funding? He goes, we're going to cure illiteracy. We're curing illiteracy today.
Oh, man.
Oh,
pretty
I'm
good.
sure he could do it better justice than I did, but
Hey,
it's
can
hilarious.
I bring something else up that just popped into my little brain here?
Yes.
Pre-committed donations.
Oh,
there-
yeah?
How important could that be? Because that could solve that issue of nobody at $5,000 and nobody at
Agreed.
$2,500.
Yeah.
Go out there and try to get those donations pre-committed prior to the event. Get commitments from people, and then your hosts can use that.
Yeah, especially if they're tied in with a organization or a business of any kind.
And look, there's so
Yeah.
many things about the fund and need. What we touched on today is this much of
Mm-hmm.
it. So, any questions that you have, send us a message, and we'll get a hold of you, honestly, and we'll help you. That's what this whole thing's about, is just educating people on what to do and what has worked and what hasn't worked, and experiences that we can all share with you. But, there's so much we didn't talk about
Mm-hmm.
the fund and need. This is very broad, but the reason I say that is because what he brings up is so important.
Yeah,
it's
definitely.
the whole backbone of the fund and need is the pre-commits, because it energizes the room and it starts off matches. All those things. Challenges.
Well,
Those are all part of it.
And
they're very
something to
important.
really consider when you're like planning this fund and need portion of the night is no matter how many people you have, let's say you have 100 people and you only have 10 items, only 10 couples will be able to make donations on live auction items if you're doing it that way. In the fund and need, everybody can
Yep.
contribute something. I mean, in your scenario with only 12 people, the math doesn't really work. But
Very difficult. We raised $12,000.
and we enjoyed every moment of it.
Gave.
All at the $25
Six
level.
of them gave.
Oh, too funny.
That's a 25.
That's right. Well, thank you so much for being with us tonight. If you'd like
Actually,
more,
daytime.
it is daytime. If you would like more of us during the day or at night, feel free to follow us on Facebook.
More of us.
There's
You would like more of
more
us.
of
Shelby
us.
is selling us.
Well, no.
To the highest bidder.
We will multiply. There's also a video version of this podcast happening on YouTube. If you want that, subscribe, like, comment, all that fun stuff. Shoot us an email.
Shoot us an email. Why
Auction
not?
at stokesauctiongroup.com. That's where the magic happens. Our intro music is Brighter Days Ahead. Thank you, Mixard. And thank you once again for joining us this week.
Go out and be bold, everybody.
Be healthy.
And go do good.
Awesome.
We out.
We out.